Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's On the Sofa. Very privileged to have Owen Doyle with us tonight. Be lovely to recount his time at Swindon and also what he's doing now. So we'll get to Owen on in a moment. Just a couple of things before we start. Membership still open for the year, £5 for the season. You do get quite a lot of benefits with that. Travel on SAS travel discounts, club shop discount, and also any live events you'll get priority for tickets on those, and a few other things. So go to our website if you want to see the full range of what we do. As we are looking for new members, we've got a prize if we get to our 1,000th member. We've got a signed shirt from last year. So once we get to our 1,000th member, we're on 860 odd at the moment. So not that far to go. So we'll draw from every member a name and they will have the shirt. Fans Forum. We've got a Fans Forum going on Wednesday, the 28th of September in the Legends Lounge. It'll be with Clem, Rob, Greg, Sandro, Scott, and I don't think I've missed everybody out. So members have got until the 7th of September to get their tickets. They should have all received an email from us with a link and a password. So if you haven't, please let us know. We have got a few tickets left, and if we still have them on Wednesday, they will go for general release. It's free. But we do need you to register because we have got a capacity in the Legends Lounge. So let us know. After the 7th, it's general. But at the moment, if any members hasn't received anything, let us know. Want to just say a quick get well soon and speedy recovery to Hallam Hope. I expect a lot of you have actually seen in the news, Hallam got attacked in the club car park after the game on Saturday at Oldham. Police are investigating. They got CCTV. It was a very vicious attack. He was hospitalised and he's going to be out for a few weeks. So we wish him all the best. There's an advisory board meeting on the 13th of September. So if anybody has any questions or anything they want to pass through to the advisory board, please let us know. You can do it through DM on Twitter, or you can go onto our website and send a contact from there, and then we will add it to our agenda. Gillingham ticket saga. It continues. We spoke about it last week and said that though we didn't know why we had to submit photographs for getting tickets. Now, the reason that I've been given is that it's for security and safety reasons. I have pushed back on this because it's only the person buying the tickets who actually had to submit a photo. And I know people put just objects on there, not actually their photo, so they didn't review them or anything. They also said that the GDPR and the privacy statements, everybody should have had a terms and conditions that they had to agree to before buying the tickets. Now, I've pushed back on this and told them that I don't think that's a good reason. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to get the Football Supporters Association to take it up on our behalf. We're not the only club who have had problems with this as well. People who have been there this season previously have also had problems. I'm also going to add to that the seats were very, very dirty. There was screws everywhere on the floor, which if I had seen, I don't think I'd have sat on it. The chairs were broken. And also the food that was being served wasn't the same as what was served in the home end as well. Very, very, very limited amount that they were selling. So all that will go in our email. What they have said is if anybody wants their account deleted, can they send their postcode to the club and they'll do it. What I've said is if you want to send it to me, I'll collate them. So again, send it through Twitter on the DM or send it through our website contact, and I'll collate them and send them all. So if you have sent a photo and you want your account deleted, please let me know, and I'll do that all as one. So that's all that. There is one other thing. We've got a special competition running tonight. Dan Designs has very kindly done a lovely print of Owen, and I'll show you that later. An up-to-date one. So, well, not up-to-date, but in his Swindon kit, because the other one was in a Brazilian kit for Ginger Pelly. So we're going to give that away tonight, and Owen has very kindly said he'll sign it. So Vic is going to ask a question during the interview, and the first one to answer it will win the print. So keep an ear out for Vic's question about Owen. Okay, so that's enough about me. Well, not about me, but enough from me.
Hello, Chris. Oh, they're all there. An unexpected appearance. I wasn't expecting.
Yes, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, so, I just an SAS message to drop in about travel. Doncaster and Grimsby are on sale tomorrow, and of course SAS will be open behind the town end in their little office. People on the reserve list for Donny will have their seats held until they close, so you don't need to ring bang on 7. So if you have on the reserve list for Doncaster, you can ring throughout the course of the 2 hours that they're open. So Doncaster and Grimsby seats on SAS travel available tomorrow from 7, I think, till 9 o'clock at the town end. So if you want to go there, or phone the number on the website, then that's fine.
Brilliant. Okay, so Owen has been very patient, so let's bring him on. Hiya.
Oh yeah, how's things?
Yeah, all good, all good. How are you? You okay?
All good. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
No, it's a privilege. Nice shirt as well.
Yeah. the new club, yeah.
Okay, so any questions, please pass them through. As I say every week, every question, if they don't get asked, we will send them over to Owen and he can see what the comments are and everything. So, but we will get through as many as we can. Okay, I'll leave you to it and I'll see you later.
Chris, thanks very much indeed. Owen, thank you ever so much for joining us. The last time we spoke to you like this was again on this virtual thing when you and Anthony Grant split the end of season awards. Do you remember those times? They were weird, weren't they?
Yeah, very unique times, all right. Yeah, please God, we never have to go back to them. But no, I remember the conversations well. It was a very successful season. We had 3/4 of a season, I suppose you could say.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. And we're going to talk about that season, of course, tonight, because many Swindon fans will look back on that in years to come. And you'll notice I've got an STFC Champions 2019-2020 behind me, which is, of course, what you were by that strange system. Talk about your shirt you got on at the moment. That's St Patrick's Athletic, of course. How's the season been for you so far?
Yeah, it's been a bit up and down, I suppose you could say. It came in, obviously, January the season started here. We had a bit of a slow start, coming good now. The last thing we've won 5 games in the bounce now, so there's a bit of a race on for European spots. So confident enough we can do it with about 7-8 games to go.
Marvellous. Well, we wish you well. Of course we do. So thank you very much indeed for that update. The Irish football, of course, plays a large part in your start in the game, doesn't it? Born in Dublin, 1988. But of course, you know, that was a start, really. You had to get involved in local football, in junior football. Tell us how it all started for you.
Yeah, obviously schoolboy football in Dublin up until I got in with Shamrock Rovers when I did under 21s. I was there at about 18. And that was me first chance, I suppose you could say. I got in and done reasonably well. Ended up moving to Sligo and then played for every single club in the world after that.
Yes. You also dabbled with Gaelic football, I think it's fair to say, didn't you?
Yeah. We used to play Gaelic football when I was younger. I played for the local club was called St Anne's. Used to love it. Like it's a good old sport, good for toughing you up.
Yeah, tell us about it because, you know, it used to get televised quite often over here, but it's a mixture of rugby and football. Is that fair to say?
I don't know. It's not. There's no contact. It wouldn't be like rugby at all in that sense. It's like rugby in the shape of the goalpost, I suppose you could say. But it's a good sport, 15 aside. It used to be very much man for man, and you just go out and win your battle. But it's all changed in the last few years. Now it's similar to football, where you kind of have to break down the opposition and everyone gets behind the ball and everyone tries to attack and the counter attacks and such, and it's like a game of chess now, more so than what it used to be. It was the big man for man and go for it kind of style of play. But if anyone doesn't know, like if you score an actual goal, that's 3 points. If you hit it over the bar in between the posts, that's a point. And obviously, the winner, whoever has the most most points at the end of the game, wins.
So what? I mean, tell us about the position that you would have played and explain that position, if you will.
Yeah, so I would have been very fit as a kid, so I would have played in midfield for a little while. So obviously, you're kind of running around all over the pitch, I suppose you could say. Used to play a little bit half forward as well. As I said, it's 15 aside. So if you have like 6 attackers, and there'd be 3 half forwards and 3 full forwards in front of them. So I'd be kind of a little bit deeper, not fully up the pitch. So I'd be either midfield or half forward. But it's a great old sport. It's very intense. You have to be very fit to play it, and it can be aggressive at times. So it's good.
And massive crowds, of course, in the Republic. Massive crowds.
Oh well, it's an amateur sport, and like All Ireland semi-finals and finals, they'll hold 80,000 people in Croke Park for lads that don't even get paid to play the game. But it's ultra professional. The lads that play for their counties over here, the Dublins and Corks and Kerrys and whoever they're from, it's basically a full-time job. They train as much as us football players, if not more. They're supreme athletes, like very, very sports scientist based now and stuff. They're all very, very strong athletic men.
Well, the messages are coming on already. So I'll Jason simply says, "Come back, mate." I think you're going to get that a lot tonight, I think, but you'll explain the reasons why you won't be, I think, a little bit later on, and they're fair enough. Let's have a look. Owen was revelling at Swindon. This is from Danny. What was the reason for leaving after an outstanding season and a real battle to keep the previous season? We'll go through all that a little bit later on. Anthony says, will you ever come back to English football? Would you ever come back to Swindon Town? Well, again, I think we'll go through that a little later, and the reason will be obvious. And Joe says, is Kiara still giving Owen stick on social media? I think this refers to some incidents at Swindon a little while ago. Was that right?
She's always giving me stick, whether it's social media or in the house here. She was giving me stick a few minutes ago there. But no, she's a great character out here. Yeah, I think the latest one, I've done 5 deadline days in my career. I must have the record, like. But the other day, I think she tweeted it was the first deadline day that she wasn't on the edge of her seat, panicking, not knowing where we're going to be living. So we're kind of glad all that's over now.
Yeah, how is that? I mean, we've just been through it here, and it quite frankly, it's madness, isn't it? You joined Swindon, I think, pretty much close to the transfer deadline day, didn't you? So, you've been through it as many times as you said. How unsettling is that for a footballer and his family?
Yeah, it's huge. You have to make kind of life-changing decisions, especially if it goes very late in the window. You might have an hour to make a decision before you have to get in the car and go and sign the deal or whatever. So it's a big upheaval. But listen, it's the nature of the beast, and you kind of know you're getting into that. And obviously, after you do 1 or 2 of them, you kind of get used to these things, and you have a process on how to do it and how to deal with things and in your life and how things might be able to work or maybe not work. So it's it's a very, very strange and unique time, and when these decisions have to be made.
Yeah, and is there a lot of eye rolling going on in the family? Oh, here we go again.
Possibly, yeah, possibly. There's been a few arguments, a few like deals turned down, or you sign for a different club, and instead of get one got promoted, you've got relegated. Well, that's how we carry on. You look back and you go, "Oh, what was I thinking there?" So there's there's all sorts of emotions and decisions have to be made.
Yeah. So one of the questions I've got is about Luke Jeffcott, who's joined, of course, Swindon this transfer deadline. How easy is that, or difficult is that for a player to suddenly come into a team, to come in and that last minute and then fit into a team? I mean, my goodness, you do, right? You got your goal on your debut, for goodness sake. But, how easy or difficult is that?
Depends on the team he's playing for. Like, I've obviously seen a bit of Jeffcott over the years. I think he's a very talented footballer, and he's got a good eye for a goal and stuff. So I think he's have a really good signing there. But if the team's playing to suit his style as an attacker, I think he'll have a great chance of bedding in quickly. Getting that first goal is crucial. Obviously, if it comes in your debut, it's a bonus. It kind of takes a lot of pressure off all those attackers are judged on goals and nothing else really. So if you can get an early goal, that'd be great.
Yeah, I was going to say, to get a goal on your debut, that must be the dream for any striker, must it? I mean, how many times have you done that? I think you've went Sligo. You scored in your debut against St Patrick's. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. Do you know what? I've changed clubs more than I changed my socks, so I couldn't even tell you how many times I've scored on my debut at this stage. But I've done it a few times over the years. But like as I said, like getting that first goal to get off the mark for the new club, it's a huge weight off your shoulders, huge relief. Gives you confidence that you're going to kind of score every game. Like that's how you feel. If you do it on the first and you can do it on all, then that's kind of how you feel as a striker going forward. Then it's great.
It's putting the ball in between those two sticks, isn't it? I mean, that's the bottom line, isn't it? Is that what you?
It's the aim of the game. Yeah, it's the aim of the game, and as strikers, that's what we're paid to do as well. So as I said, you get judged on that and nothing really else. So like I know when I'm finished, people just look back and say, "Oh, he played how many games and how many goals did he score?" It won't be anything about running channels or remember that free kick he won or anything like that, or that cross he put in. It'll be just a goal. So it's getting off the mark early in your new club is great and such a relief.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about the extra goal in a minute. Let's have a look. Did Owen ever see his mural at the Tap and Barrel backyard? I assume there's a mural. That's a pub in, as you may well know. Did you ever see that?
I've seen a picture of it. Yeah, I've seen a picture of it. I didn't go down to see it, obviously, but because I think it was still pandemic times or whatever. And but now very grateful for that. Fair play to the lads that threw that up there.
It is extraordinary. You had one season at Swindon, and yet, you're part of the club, really. And I was trying to sort of come up with a similar sort of effect. And Stephen Darby was at the club for about 3 months, scored a penalty which took the club to Wembley. And of course, sadly, is living with MND. But to make such an impact in such a short space of time, how does that make you feel?
No, it was brilliant. Obviously, one of the best times of my whole career was there. I always talk about it now. I know you'll probably bring up that Plymouth goal or whatever, but that was the best feeling I've ever had in football that day after I scored that goal. So it's great. I'm very eternally grateful to all the supporters down there. Great old song always supported me from the minute I signed, and then we played down next there. It was just a bit of a roller coaster, and it was a very enjoyable one at that.
Yeah, it was an amazing time. Rich says, thanks for the memories. Your time here was too short. Were you confident if we could have won the league if COVID had not intervened? We'll get onto that in a minute. Jack, what was Owen Doyle's favourite goal for the club? I think I might have a feeling about that one. Alan says, how's the business going? I recall the last time you were on, you were setting a business up back home. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've got a childcare business here. It's an after-school club, and we just opened our third one there last week. So it's gone very well. Yeah, thanks for asking.
Let's have a look. Yeah, Kevin says everyone has his price. Come on, Owen. Just till the end of this season. How much? I think. And Dave the Chair says we love you, Owen. Thanks for the wonderful memories. So lots coming in. So let's continue back. You played as a youngster for the wonderfully named Cherry Orchard. Tell us about Cherry Orchard. Where are they and what do they do?
So they're a schoolboy football club here in Dublin, in an area called Ballyfermot. Wouldn't be the nicest area in the world, to put things nicely, but a wonderful football club. It's produced lots of wonderful footballers. Nathan Collins would have been the latest one that's came out of that. He's at the Wolves centre back now. But it's obviously schoolboy football. I had a few clubs throughout the years of schoolboy football as well, but Cherry Orchard was always a great time, and it's as schoolboy clubs go, it's full of history down there in Ballyfermot, and it's they've always had great, really strong teams and good coaches and stuff. So they've produced a lot of players over the years.
Shelburne, obviously, very important in your early time before you moved on to Shamrock Rovers. I mean, if you can put them into perspective in terms of how would you sort of compare them to clubs in England? Is there a comparison with the size of those clubs in the Republic to here? Where would you put them?
Yeah, no, it's hard to it'd be hard to kind of to compare them. They're all very different and unique, and like you look at Sligo might get 2,000-3,000 fans at a game, but there's a population of only 20,000 people in the town. So you're talking like 10-15% of turning out to watch the football. I think in Europe, it's like the highest per capita of supported football club. considering the town is so small, but they get such a good fan base. To just really like the Dublin clubs, obviously Pats now. There's a lot of history with Pats, same with Shell, Shamrock Rovers. They're all big clubs here in Dublin, and to put a comparison with the English football as well is unique. There's no other country in the world, I don't think, that has a tiered system like that with such like passionate fans. I often talk to people over here in Ireland about it, and like football in England is like their religion. They like on a Saturday at 3 o'clock is their mass, and I think it's proper unique. It's something it's out on its own. It's an outlier, and it can't be compared really.
Yeah, fair enough. Right. Well, you had a lot of connections with Irish football, obviously, and then scouts are watching you. Are you aware that scouts are watching you from across this side of the water?
No, I never had an agent or anything like that when I was younger. I was obviously very young. I was 18 when I broke on the scene in the league with Shamrock Rovers, and had a couple of years there before I moved to Sligo, and then eventually I ended up moving over to Scotland. I went to Hibs from Sligo, and that would have been the first time when I was getting like the phone calls were coming in as such, and rumours were flying around. So that would have been the first sniff of it then.
Yeah. Now, don't forget, we've got a print to give away by Dan Design. So you've got to listen out carefully, all right, throughout the course of this, because the question will be later. So you've got to listen out. So how did you know about Hibs? Obviously, you'll be aware that Harry McCurdy has joined Hibs. Tell us about the transition to Hibs. Now, they're one of the biggest clubs in Scotland, aren't they?
Yeah, they're huge. Like they've wonderful fan base up there, very intense, and they proper love their football up there. It's great. You open the back pages of a Scottish newspaper, and you're not seeing any English football at all until maybe 8-9 pages in. It's all Scottish football, so it's very well followed up there. The difference was huge for me at the time. First game was actually in the Edinburgh Derby. Came on for the last maybe 6-7 minutes of the match, and just the size of the players I found was phenomenal compared to where I was coming from. So straight away I was in the gym trying to make myself stronger. I had a good 6 months in the gym, and the following season, I signed in January, so I had a half season with Hibs, and then I was really ready to rock them for the second season I had with them.
No,
big difference in standard, big difference in physicality, definitely.
Yeah, I'm guessing this is is that your first time away from home, and how was that?
Well, no, Sligo Rovers is actually the other side of the country from Dublin. Right. That's the west coast. So no, 2.5 years over there living out away from home before I came to Hibs. Yeah.
So you were kind of used to it before you went to Scotland.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you enjoyed your time at Hibs, but you took part in one of the most bonkers Scottish FA Cup semi-finals, I would imagine. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, 3-0 down at half time. I was a sub on the day. I came on at half time, and I managed to get one of the goals to pull us back into it. We ended up winning the game 4-3 after extra time, 3-3, and with extra time, and Lee Griffiths scored a winner. Mad, like they were playing the championship, so a division below us at the time. So it would have been a major upset if they had beat us. So it was a brilliant occasion. Like a lot of noise, a lot of intensity in the stadium that day. To go from the sheer like down the dumps feeling at half time to the euphoria after winning 4-3 was quite remarkable.
And that was against Falkirk, wasn't it, if I remember rightly?
That's right, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, an incredible sort of history at Easter Road, and of course those big derbies against Hearts. So how would you compare that derby? Obviously the Celtic Rangers one is looked upon the biggie in Scotland, and we have the ones down here, Liverpool against Everton, Swindon against that team from just up the A420, who I won't mention. But there are a lot of big derbies down here. How would you put the Edinburgh one?
Oh, it's right up there. It's really right up there. Yeah, look, especially if the games are in the evening. And if you're like at Tynecastle when you're playing them away, Tynecastle the stand is very close to the pitch. So like if you're taking a corner, for example, it's 2 steps just to hit the ball. Like you've only got 2 steps to take it. So the fans you feel like they're on the pitch with you. It's very loud, like very aggressive. It's intimidating, brilliant though. Like such crazy atmosphere, so good to play in. Sometimes the ball, not much of it be on the ground. It wasn't in a few of the games I played. It was that intense. Like it was so fast. Just the minute you had a touch on the ball, someone was coming through the back of you. Great times though. Like the derbies are huge up there, massive.
I'm guessing you're a player who loves the big crowd. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I like playing the big games. Yeah, I like the atmospheres and the noise that comes with it. Yeah, definitely.
Well, you had one or two during your season at Swindon. I have to say that's fair, and one in particular sticks in my mind. But you had quite a few clubs. I think it's fair to say, and you hinted at that earlier on. When did you first know that clubs in England were getting interested in you?
When I was at Hibs, when I was at Hibs, a bit of attention was coming my way. I was doing reasonably well up there, so I was getting a few phone calls for a few different clubs, and my old Sligo manager, Paul Cook, was at Chesterfield at the time. So he gave me a call. I love playing for him. I've always loved playing for him. So when he gave me a call, I jumped at it to go back down and play for him again, and I kicked on again when I signed for Chesterfield.
Yeah, you played against Swindon, I think, for Chesterfield, didn't you?
That's right. He had a very, very strong team at the time. I don't think it was the Canyon now, but it was Fotheringham in goal, and he's a good player. I think Williams maybe playing up front at the time, and Gladwin might have been there at the time. This is his second stint.
He's had 4 or 5 spells, so yeah.
Yeah, so I think he was there at the time before he moved on. The midfielder that was at Chef Wednesday there recently as well, the Australian boy. So it was a very strong team at the time. Yeah. I think you might have got promoted that year. It was very very good.
It was at Chester. I think it was 3-0 to Swindon, if I remember rightly. It was.
I think it was. Yeah, I remember we had at Chesterfield. We used to go out and try to beat every team we played. Like, we were really attack minded and stuff. And it sticks out like a sore thumb, this, because it was the only time I've ever seen my manager do it, Paul Cook, at the time. We actually sat back, because especially Fotheringham played nearly halfway up the pitch. He was like a centre back, kind of getting the ball and spraying things. And we went in with a different approach, and it just wasn't us. And he's ended up punishing us on the day. But it was it's something he never done since, and all that.
This is from Ben. He says, thanks for the memories, Owen. Thoroughly enjoyed your play and the team's performance. Never felt we were going to lose with you up top. Wish you all the best. Jack says, we wish you, Owen. You're always welcome back here. We miss you, Owen. You're always welcome back here anytime. Adam says, I remember when you and Yates both came back after being recalled in January. You two were great together on the pitch. Andy says, Crawley away. What a move that was. Well, let's go briefly through the rest of you, because everybody wants to hear about that season with Swindon. There's no question about that. And, you had Cardiff, you had Preston, where I think you and Jermaine Beckford had a little bit of a falling out, didn't you? Do you remember that? Can you tell us about that?
Do I remember it? Of course I remember it, yeah. We had a bit of a falling out on the pitch. I actually came on that day. It was away to Chef Wednesday. I'd actually just scored as well, and I received the ball on the halfway line. I was actually playing a bit deeper that day, in the 10 roll. So I got the ball on the halfway line, broke to the middle of the pitch, and I look up, and Jermaine he's peeled in between the centre back and the left back. But I felt as if I wasn't able to give him the ball. The gap looked too small, so I passed it wide to our winger at the time, and he took a shot and went over the bar, or whatever. But Bex wasn't happy. He stopped in his tracks and shouting at me, saying, "Why didn't you pass?" And two of us went head to head. Anyway, a few little handbags, both of us got sent off on the day, but brought a bit of shame on the club, all right. Yeah, and I don't think I was ever really taken to a pressing once that happened. Like, Bex was a bit of a club legend there as well, so I probably done it with the wrong person. But no, it was funny. Looking back on it now, it was very funny. Tell you, it wasn't funny. We had to pay back all the fans that travelled over that day, and it was 35 quid. We had this 35 quid a ticket. So I didn't enjoy that one, but it was it was one of them funny moments I look back on. And tell you another one about that as well. It was my phone, like, after we're hopping, like, my phone was chocker. But my dad back in Dublin at the time couldn't sleep. And that night he said he went downstairs, nothing on the telly, obviously 3 or 4 in the morning. So he turned on CNN. And he says the sports news came on CNN, and there's me and Beckford getting sent off on American television. So the proper went all around the world. It created a lot of noise at the time.
Brilliant. Jermaine Beckford, of course, Swindon fans will remember Jermaine Beckford. There's no question about that. Right. I think we better get on to your time at Swindon. There are other clubs to talk about, but I think, generally speaking, people want to hear about that. Now, Bradford City, you're at Bradford City, and things ain't going well for you, are they? And, how did this all come about? I mean, Richie Wellens, who'd come across before, how did this move come about?
Yeah, obviously, Bradford, we got relegated with Bradford the year before. We were actually favourites to go up that year at the start of the season. We finished rock bottom. And basically they're playing a style of football that didn't really suit me. It was very direct and stuff, and I kind of knew in the summer they were trying to move me on. And there was a few moments where I nearly signed for other clubs and never really happened. And Richie obviously rang me. At the time, I'd played for Richie at Oldham and I'd scored a few goals from loved playing for him. He's kind of similar to Paul Cook and how he likes his attacking teams, and these all remember him well anyway. But I knew if I was to play again for him that I'd be able to get back amongst the goals. So met him up in Manchester near his house, and he basically gave me an itinerary of the next 50 days. And he said, listen, show that to Ciara. You'll have plenty of days off. You can still live in Liverpool and just commute. And so I brought it back to Ciara, and she was like, yeah, go for it. Yeah. So that's how it happened.
So you signed on the Thursday or Friday? I can't remember now. How close
I signed on the Friday, the day before.
Yeah.
And I think it was the day before, and then we just travelled straight away down to Exeter, yeah.
Yeah. So you talked about scoring on your debut. Well, you did. I think Matt J had put Exeter in front, and you got the equaliser. Swindon unlucky that day not to go on to win it. I think we had a goal disallowed, but you went to the top of the table early days. Good start.
Oh, brilliant, yeah. I think Jerry was suspended. I think Jerry Yates might have got a red card in one of the first two. I think it was the maybe the fourth or fifth game of the season where I'd signed. Jerry actually started very well for us, and he got sent off, I think, so short on strikers, and Richie threw me straight in. And on the day, I just remember straight away thinking, look, this team is for me. Like, just the way we were playing, you'd have like Lloyd Isgrove, Keshi Anderson, Kane, all doing their bits or whatever, and it was just really enjoyable. Doubts in behind them, and it was just really enjoyable. Like how we were playing, I knew it'd suit me straight away. And there was a couple of chances early on I didn't quite get right, and then obviously I think it was Zeki Flores put the ball in and managed to get on the end of it, and got the goal in my debut. Yeah, I think it was the equaliser. Yeah.
Yeah, it was in front of the big bank, and that must be pleasing. You're in front of the opposition fans. You get the goal. I mean, I guess it's better in front of your own fans, but great way to start.
Oh, brilliant! We talked about it earlier on, like just that relief straight away. You're off the mark, and I've only had one training session with the lads as well, so they didn't even know the type of player I was really, or just a lot of getting used to each other and stuff. But from there, we just really kicked on after that.
Yeah, it's a fabulous season for you, and you went through a very good spell, but you had a little dry spell as well. So these things happen to strikers, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think when I signed back, I didn't score for a few games, and then I picked it up again. I think before the pandemic stopped everything. But yeah, no, like it happens. Like with me, it's always been a bit like that. It's a bit of a famine or a feast. You score 4 or 5 in a row, and then you mightn't score for 4 or 5. It's just the nature of the beast, and it's kind of trying to figure it out mentally how to kind of control that and to kind of deal with that when the good times are there and when the dry times are there. So it's a constant battle in your own head, but it's all part of the game.
A classic example of things not going too well, but then suddenly they did, was against Stevenage, wasn't it, at home? A real scrappy old game. It was the game before Crawley, wasn't it? And I think you got the winner right at the death, didn't you? And that was a bit of a turning point, I think, for the team, wasn't it?
That was huge. That was a massive game for us. Probably the biggest game of the season in the sense of, I think, leading into that game, we might have dropped a few points we shouldn't have. And I think Stevenage might have been rock bottom. If they weren't, they were right down there anyway. So we were heavy favourites to win the match, and the game wasn't going our way at all. It definitely wasn't going our way. It was just one of them horrible games. But I remember playing a 1-2 with Rob Hunt down the line late on. He put in a great ball just right onto my toe, and I managed to kind of swivel a bit of a volley in. And the way we went, I think it was the 86th minute or something like that, 87 minutes. So it was very late on, but and then obviously next, as you said, then we went to play Crawley after that. So it was we really started kicking on. But yeah, no, that was a massive game in the outlook of that season, definitely.
Crawley, I mean, many people, Leyton Orient earlier in the season, the 3-1 win at Brisbane Road, a lot of people look at that as a perfect away performance. Crawley, what a performance. That was magnificent, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Yeah, we were total football that day, complete control from minute 1 till the last kick of the game, and it was just completely dominant. Everyone was on it. Just everyone was outstanding, and it was yeah, it was one of them games where you felt like you were playing in the best team in the world. That's what it felt like on the day.
The one downside, of course, was Lloyd Isgrove got an injury in that game, wasn't it? And he kind of was out for a little while after that.
That's right, and Lloyd is a big player for us that season, especially at the start of the season. I obviously loved playing with him. We managed to kind of convince Bolton to sign him after me as well. He's still up there now, and he's for me amazing because he's kind of one of them old school wingers where he'll just get the ball out of his feet and cross the ball into the box for me, and he always knew how to find me and stuff. So he's very talented, great character as well.
Alan says, as a youth coach myself, Owen, to get the best out of your striker as a youth player, was you as a youth player, or were you as a youth player, have a pat at the back or a kick up the backside to get the best out of you? Where would you put yourself?
That's a good question. I'd maybe the pat on the back, maybe then the screaming match, I suppose you could say. But no, it doesn't. I'd say the pat on the back is going to work out more. It'll definitely work out better for me, I think, in the long term. I don't think I ever really did. I was a very honest player. Like, it was never one of them where I wasn't trying or didn't run enough or anything like that. So there wouldn't be many times when a manager would have turned around to me and said, "You're not giving it all for me." Maybe a few bad decisions on the pitch or a few different times where they might have shouted at me for things like that, but never in me decision making, I suppose you could say, more just in me execution of things. But no, for me, it would have been the pat on the back.
Becky says, my child doesn't like Swindon anymore since you left. Oh, there you go. Sean says, could easily have been double figures at Crawley that day. You got a hat trick, of course, and Anthony Grant turned winger and provider and slotted you in at one point. I mean, that was, a wonderful hat trick. And it was a foul day, wasn't it? It was a filthy day, let's be honest. But did that help, the way you were able to zip the ball around? Yeah,
the rain helped the pitch massively, yeah. The ball was zipped around. I remember, I think it was my last goal for the hat trick was the ball. I think there was a heap of passes in the goal anyway. It was very, very enjoyable. But as you said, lashing rain, spitting down wouldn't have been a great one for the fans. I wouldn't imagine if you weren't winning. But I remember that day in particular I know Anthony Grant done very well, but it was the performance of Keshi Anderson where it really stuck out for me. He's a very, very talented boy and he's doing great stuff now.
Now, obviously, that run comes into it, and we got to talk about that run. Are you okay? You okay?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, the baby's here rubbing a few marshmallows beside me. He's at the final.
Marvellous. Now, that run starts against Plymouth in the 1-1 draw, I think it was. Joel Grant got the goal. He also played for Swindon, I think, the following season. And I watched it this afternoon. Lovely through ball, slot it over the keeper, and that starts that ridiculous run off. 15 goals in 11 games. I mean, bonkers, really.
Yeah, it was brilliant. And as I said earlier, like when you score in a game, and especially in that team, like we were getting to really know each other, and everyone was kind of on the same wavelength. And Richie was very good at that in his training. He kind of go through patterns of play, and it really suited the individuals he had on the pitch at the time to play that certain way. And the lads just knew how I'd make the run, and the lads knew how to find me inch perfect passes. I remember that goal as well. It was an inch perfect pass through the gap, and I think I dinked it over the keeper. So it was just a really enjoyable period. Obviously, to score that many goals in a row, and it was it was good. It was good old times, all right. There's something you probably don't know, but Football Focus actually came out to do a piece on myself and Richie. It's ended up in the archives. I think never showed it because it was supposed to air the week that the league finished.
Yeah,
and it was all kind of off. Yeah, it was kind of all like Clem, isn't it? With Football Focus, he came out and he had a day with the whole team, and a few interviews and that. But I never really quite made it because obviously things finished up. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the day you should have gone to Oldham, I guess, wasn't it? That's
Saturday. Right. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that run then, it's an extraordinary run, really, and you get named Division 2 Player of the Year of the month 3 months in a row, which is an extraordinary achievement.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, they said it was the first time it was ever done in the EFL, so it's nice to get a bit of a record like that as well. But I actually got called back. I was actually called back at Bradford in the January when I got the third one. Bradford tried to get me to do the photos in the Bradford training kit. And I had to say to him, no, I can't allow that to happen. Like, I done this for Swindon. There's like no way your badge should be in this type of thing. I didn't achieve anything here with you lot. So the funny old memory about that, yeah. But at the time, because they actually came, and I think it was October, November, December, maybe. I was actually devastated getting them because every time I was getting them, people were saying like, Bradford are going to call you back. Bradford are going to call you back. You get the second one, you're like, oh, I don't believe I'm not doing this again. They're definitely going to call me back here. And then obviously I was called back by the time the third one came. So it was great to get them at the time, but also at the same time it was like, oh no, this is going to get cut short now because of how well this is going.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, I guess. If you're playing really well and you're scoring bags of goals, your parent club are going to go, hello, what's going on here? And were you aware of their interest? We'll get to the actual move back in a minute, but were you aware of their interest or whether they were going to pull you back at all?
Yeah, it was very quiet for a long time and no one was giving any definite answers. And then I was coming home from training one day in Chesterfield, driving back up to Liverpool, and Gary Bowyer asked to meet me. He was a Bradford manager at the time, and basically said, "We're calling you back." And I said, "I don't want to come back." And very unique situation in the sense of I even said it to him on the day. I said, "This is probably the only time you've ever met a player, and the player has told, and you're the one begging the player to sign for you, and the player's telling you he doesn't want to play for you." Two of us had a bit of a giggle at that, but it was a bit of an intense conversation. I was obviously flying high at Swindon, loving every minute of it. Didn't want that to end. And they were, I don't know, maybe 8th or 9th in the league at the time. We were obviously doing very well at the top of the league. I think we went top of the league in November or something and never came away from that number one spot. So I didn't want to go back. And it was a season-long loan in my eyes. And I didn't even, when I signed the loan deal, I didn't even know the clause was in there that I could be called back. I just thought I was done with Bradford and that was the end of it. But yeah, obviously went back then and didn't do too well for them. Again, they were still playing that similar style that didn't suit me. And I called into him a couple of days before the window. Should have got in early. We got beat. We got beat badly, I think it was, away to Mansfield, and he pulled us in on a Sunday morning. So I got to the training ground at about 7 o'clock on the Sunday morning and straight into his office before he was even there. When he walked in, I was like, we need to have a chat. Like, this isn't working. I need to go. Like, I basically said to him, like, it's going to be me that's going to get you the sack because you've pulled me back just because of the goals I'm scoring there, but I'm not scoring them for you. And he says, no, you're right, you have to go. So we managed to get the agreement over the line and get back down the road.
Before that, you played at Salford and won at Salford. Really huge result, if I remember rightly, and a great afternoon, really enjoyable afternoon. But Paul Caddish came on with about 30 seconds left. Now, you were kind of instrumental, I think, in getting him back to Swindon, weren't you?
Yeah, I was obviously at Bradford with Cads, and in the season we went down. He was our best player. He came in halfway through that season, and he was brilliant. And I knew we still had it. I knew we still had it. Like, he still had plenty of legs in him and stuff. And he was and he's a great fella. Like, I know he's probably talked to him a few times over the years, but he's a proper legend of the game, and his knowledge of the game is brilliant. I'm sure he's going to be a great coach as well when that time comes around for him. But he's we were, I don't know what happened. Someone might have got injured, maybe, or one of the fullbacks, Ellis, maybe might have got injured, or Hunty. I can't remember who it was anyway. But we needed a fullback, and I said to Richie, I said, Cads, he's out of contract still. He hasn't signed a new deal anywhere. Which I promise you, like, he's still got it. Yeah, Richie was worried about his weight at the time. I says, no, he's been on it. Like, he's lean. I promise you that much. Anyway, he turned up and went in and met Richie straight away, and Richie said to him straight away, no, I didn't think you'd be this lean. Halfway through the warm-up, Richie kind of whispered in my ear, he's still got it, hasn't he? You could just see him in the warm-up, the way he was passing the ball and moving, that he was still at it. And again, instrumental when he came in, hit the ground running straight away. Like, just defensively, for a fella his size, never got beat, gone forward, created so much for me as well. He was just a brilliant player to have.
Yeah, we'll get to one particular goal that he was instrumental in a second, but this is from Helen. I remember walking through Stroud precinct with my mum. All we could hear was Ginger Pele as we were away at Forest Green Rovers. Even the police were laughing and trying to explain shoppers that the noise was coming from the local bus services to Forest Green Rovers. 2 goals on that day, of course, for you, and another wet, filthy day, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
And that was another big result, wasn't it? Although it was a 2-2 draw, wasn't it? You were 2 up.
They equalised late on. Yeah, their left back, I think, scored the goal. But yeah, no, that was a definitely 2 points drop that day. We were very good that day, and we managed to. I think I scored 2 in the first half, and they managed to get one late on to equalise. So, but no, we were good. Like, we were on a bit of a run at that time.
Yeah, and Jerry Yates is a couple of questions about Jerry Yates. How important was he in your partnership? I mean, he worked really hard, didn't he? And I remember Grimsby, I think he got his 10th goal of the season on a freezing cold Saturday afternoon up at Grimsby. I think you might have scored after about 3 minutes or something. But, how instrumental was he in you getting those goals? Because it seemed to me he took a lot of the weight off you by his movement. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, he's a very, very good player. Like, he's a very good player. He was more important to that team than me. Like, I'd be very confident that that team would have went on to win the league regardless of me being in that team. But if he was to come out of it, I don't think that'd be the case. His work rate, as you said, off the ball, amazing. On the ball, he has a bit of everything. He's able to hold the ball up. He can run in behind. He can beat a man. He's just got a bit of everything. So he was a massive, massive asset for us at the time, and it's great to see him kick on now and do so well and make a proper career out of it as well.
Yeah, fabulous player. And of course, the sad thing is we lost you both in that January. But before we lost you in that January, I was just going to read you this one. This is from Jamie. The game at Plymouth, what an atmosphere, will live long in the memory. Thanks for an incredible season. You knew before that game that you weren't staying. So what were your thoughts going into it?
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough, yeah. So I didn't want to let none of the lads know that it was happening. So, like, on the day before we were leaving, like, I actually had to pack up all my stuff out of the club without any lads seeing. So all my extra boots and trainers and whatever you have lying around the gym or whatever, I had to kind of sneak it into the boot of the car and kind of not let any of the lads see it. But once the game was over, I kind of knew that it was happening. I actually think the next game was against Bradford, so I obviously couldn't play against them. And then that was the last game before they were calling me back. So it was still a bit of limbo. Will it, won't it happen after the game? But I was told beforehand that it was happening. Obviously, Swindon tried very hard to stop it happening at all. But I think Bradford were kind of put in a position where it was getting embarrassing for them. So they kind of had to pull me back,
Well, let's talk about that game at Home Park then, because, I live in Devon and live near Exeter, so any win over Plymouth is a great thing for the people I live near. They score first, and I think Stephen Bender makes a couple of really good saves. DJ gets the equaliser, and then in the second half, it still is one of the best goals I've ever seen. Just your movement is fabulous. Just a little fraction of a move, just enough. But also the build-up to that goal. What can you remember?
I remember me mis-hitting a pass, I think it was. Ended up at Izzy, and Izzy got it out to Cads, and then Cads obviously just knew exactly where it wanted and rolled a lovely ball across the box. And it was very easy for me to kind of strike in the sense of I didn't have to put much power on it. It was more like kind of just send it in a certain direction, and I knew the ball would fly in. But I think it was the occasion of the game. I think it was the opening of their new stand. So there was 18,000 at the game. It was their first game since they'd rebuilt the stadium or whatever. So it was a big occasion for them, and we kind of slapped that away from them in the sense, kind of getting that winner and coming away with the 3 points on the day. But atmosphere wise was amazing, and obviously the Swindon fans packed out the away end. Always travelled well, but travelled extremely well that day down there. Obviously, when the goal went in, this just the celebration took over. There's in a gap between a couple of security guards, and a couple of stewards. So I said, I'm going for it. Jumped over the advertisements into the crowd, and one of the best feelings of my life. I'll never ever forget it. Yeah.
I think you said at the time all you could smell was chips and beer. Is that right?
Yeah, amazing. What else could you want to smell as well? Like, two of the best smells you could have out there, and I was right in the middle of it all. It was brilliant.
Yeah, but a bittersweet moment, I'm guessing. I mean, it was a fabulous game for those of us who were watching in the away end, and we loved it and it was wonderful. We didn't know what was going to happen, but for you, I guess, a bittersweet moment in a way.
Yeah. But I actually, so for every away game, my car was drove there because I'd shoot back to Liverpool. So I obviously had the very long drive back to Liverpool after that match, and a lot of thinking, a few phone calls trying to stop things from happening early. Can we do anything? People ringing me saying, turn on Radio 5 Live. They're singing the Ginger Pele song on live on the radio and stuff. I think Chris Sutton had got one of the fans on to give a rendition of it, and they did it. So it was an amazing time. Like, I loved every minute of it, and obviously for that to happen then, where they called me back, kind of put a put a stop to it in its tracks, or whatever. But obviously, it makes the story now looking back a little bit better. The fact that I was able to re-sign on that.
Yeah. Just before we go on, I'm going to ask a question for that special Dan Designs print of that moment when you score that goal against Plymouth Argyle at home park. And the question is, what part did Owen play in that remarkable Scottish Cup semi-final against Falkirk, which ended up 4-3 to Hibernian? But what part did Owen Doyle play in that Scottish Cup semi-final? Now, if you've been watching earlier, you will know. So if you'd like to get your answers in, send it in via the messages on Facebook, Twitter, or whatever. And you could win that special print. So what part did Owen Doyle play in that Scottish Cup semi-final against Falkirk? That's the question. Malcolm says, Doyle and Yates, great partnership up front. Miss you guys. So there you go. You go back to Bradford. And you kind of touched on what happened. We lost Jerry Yates. And then Nick is setting this in. The reunification video with Jerry Yates was obviously staged. When did he really know when it was happening? Because it was such a lovely video. You will remember it. You must have watched it loads of times. But he wanders down the corridor, goes into the dressing room, and there you are. So when did that all get done?
So it was staged from Jerry's point of view, but I had no idea it was happening. I just literally got down there, and the deal was done. When that video was actually played, I hadn't signed yet. I hadn't re-signed yet, so I just got into the building. But obviously Jerry and Ben Hook at the time was the media guy. He was very good. Still relatively close to Ben now, and he's a good fella. Them too kind of heard that I was in the building, so they obviously started rolling the camera or whatever. But Jerry was genuinely looking for me in different rooms. He wouldn't have known where I was in the building at the time, but I was there. That's all he knew, and I had no idea that they were bringing the camera in or whatever. But no, it was great. Like, great to come back and try to finish things off like we did. You know.
Yeah, it was it was quite an emotional thing. I mean, when you watch it, I think that was close to the deadline as well, wasn't it? If I remember rightly.
It would have been, yeah, definitely. It would have been the last couple of days, I'd imagine, yeah.
How hard did Swindon work on that deal? Very hard, I would imagine.
Yeah, very hard, yeah. Like, to be fair to Lee, I know you guys mightn't think too fondly of him or whatever, but like, he really pushed the boat out to make that happen. Like, he paid a fee for a 32-year-old just to play the last few months of the season. So like, he needs credit where credit's due in that sense. He really did push the boat out for myself and for Richie to get me back and stuff. So I owe him a bit of gratitude in that as well. He done great to get that over the line. I don't know how he managed to do it, like, but he managed to do it anyway.
Well, Chris says, honestly, still think if we kept Jerry and Owen the following season, we would challenge for promotion rather than relegation. Right. So you come back. The last goals you score against Scunthorpe United on a Tuesday night, you get both of them, don't you? And that followed a little dry spell. You talked about that a little earlier on. There was that ridiculous game against Exeter, which was, to me, it still sends a tingle down my back to think of the atmosphere that day. I remember Anthony Grant sort of conducting the Ginger Pele song. It was a fantastic atmosphere. Where does that sit in your list of atmospheres that you've played in?
Yeah, so like I still do it now. Before matches, I get to the stadium very early. Like, if 3 o'clock kickoff, lads don't usually have to be there till maybe 1:15 or 1:30. But I'm always there at midday. I need to get out. I need to get to the ground and just be around the place before the match. I get a bit Kira be slagging me, like, but I'm awful around the house the day of the game. But I just need to be there for it to kind of be in the moment or whatever. But that day I got there at about midday, and I was swamped walking in. And I don't know why everyone was there so early. There was obviously no reason for the people to be at the stadium that early, but it took me a good half an hour to get from my car in through the front door that day. And it was just brilliant. Like, I could hear people singing the song as I was walking up and stuff. It was just brilliant. Such an enjoyable afternoon. The stadium was packed, and I remember actually Lee winding me up after the match, going, listen, for all I've done to get that few bob up there to get you back there, and we probably got it back through the gate today, because it was a bit of a full house that day. So it was it was a great day. Brilliant.
Yeah, fabulous. And it was first against second, if I remember rightly, and right, yeah. you got the first goal, which you didn't get the first.
Yeah.
Lewis Ward, if I remember rightly, of course, who just left Swindon, gone to Sutton, pushed it onto the head of Archie Collins into the back of the net. But for some bizarre, I was doing the commentary on for BBC Radio Devon, and we immediately thought own goal. There's no question about that. How on earth did you get credited with it?
Yeah, I've no idea. And what used to happen after most matches is I'd be obviously driving back up to Liverpool, and Richie Wellens, obviously Manchester based, he'd be driving up, and most times, more often than not, he'd ring me on the way back up, and just to go through what he thought in the game and stuff. He would have been relatively close, and he was slagging me, saying like, "You were nowhere near it." I says, "I know, I can't even believe I got it." Like, and he was like, "Sure, listen, you won't get it, but like, it doesn't matter. Your name is being called out again, and people are saying he's back and all that. Carry on and just kick on from here," type of thing. So I was like, "Sure, I'll take whatever's going." Yeah, definitely.
Of course, the winner was scored by Hallam Hope, who we send our very best wishes to after the incident over the weekend. We hope he gets well very, very soon. A fabulous result on a very windy day. And then, the goals, you got those 2 goals against Scunthorpe, and those were your last 2 goals for Swindon, weren't they, on that Tuesday night? How relieved were you to get those goals?
Yeah, big. I felt as if at the time I was really going to kick on then. I was never one for really paying attention to records or anything like that, but I knew I had a half a chance of getting the all-time record in the league. I think Paul Mullen's gone on to take that now. But I felt I could have, if there was ever a season that I was going to be done, it would have been that season. And obviously just got cut short before we went up to play Oldham the following Saturday. But yeah, it was great to get them goals. I felt like I was back at it then. And it's just a shame that obviously what happened.
Yeah, of course, we lost to Forest Green on the Saturday, which was the last game, was it not?
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, Rob says, how did you feel about your recall to Bradford and the role you played there? I don't think you scored in 3 or 4 games. If I remember rightly, I watched the highlights show on whatever channel it was on. You had a chance against Crawley for Bradford, which am I right in saying that? And you had a great chance, but somehow you didn't put it into the back of the net. And we all sat there going, hang on.
I remember it well. It was a bit of a miscommunication between one of their defenders and the goalie, and the ball landed. It was knee height, bit of an awkward one to hit, but I managed to hit it on target anyway. And they were nowhere. Their centre back threw himself at the ball and cleared it off the line. But maybe if I had a Swindon shirt on, I would have hit the back of the net all right, but it didn't. And I know I was getting a few messages that night as well saying you're acting the fiddle there. Like we know what you're doing. It's like, honest to God, they actually tried to score that goal there. I was never being dishonest on the pitch with anything like that. But it was I suppose you could say it's one of them sliding doors moments where this me wearing this shirt at this club, it just doesn't work, it doesn't click. And yeah. It was. I remember that chance very, very well.
How would you have celebrated it? Would you have celebrated it? Would you?
Oh, well, of course I would have. Yeah, I would have celebrated. Like, at that time, like I was a Bradford player. Like I obviously was trying most days to get back to Swindon and stuff. But like every day that went by, it was looking less and less so. Only for we got beat badly by Mansfield, and I just confronted the gaffer to say, look, this has to change or whatever. It was able to kind of reignite things. But yeah, it's like it was the maddest ever. Like you feel like I was the best, like obviously the top goal scorer in the league, and I felt like I was nearly scoring every game to go up and play for them then, and you go 2 or 3 games without even having a shot at goal. It was just like, God, this is terrible. Like this just isn't me. So just a bit mad, like, and you're going from doing so well, playing for the team that's top of the league, to playing for the team that's 7th or 8th or 9th or whatever they were in the league at the time. It's just a mad, unique, weird situation. Even in the first place, and to let me go on loan to a team that started the season so well in Swindon, and to be ahead of them in the league at the time, it just shows their desperation to get me off the books, really, I suppose you could say. But it was just a very like even my dad would be saying things to me like on a Saturday evening, like Jeff Stelling's gone mad on Soccer Saturday, saying, what have Bradford done? What have they done here? Like, this is just madness. So I'm scoring again. And when I was signed back up for Bradford, the manager, Gary Boyer at the time, used to come into the dressing room after the match if they lost, and like he'd throw something across the room and say, he's after scoring again, I don't believe it. So it was very noticeable that I was a bit of a pain in the arse up there.
Well, we're pleased you were, in a way. Michael Gray says, favourite Swindon player. Andy says, as a town fan living in Dublin, what's your local pub? You're able to give that information.
So just I can. Yeah, I've just been into Rathfarnham. I play called Rathfarnham here, so the Eden just beside Marley Park. I'd be the local boozer. lovely point of Guinness in there and a nice roast.
Lovely, very good. So, ironically, of course, Swindon sitting top of the table for ages and ages and ages, and then on that last game against Forest Green, Crewe just sneak into top place, don't they? And then it all stops. We're all thinking, are we going to go to Oldham on the Saturday or not? Because of what's happened. How did you deal with that? Because suddenly we're in this weird situation where we've never been before. And suddenly we're all told to stay at home. Nobody can play football. Nobody can watch football. How did you deal with all that?
It was very tough. Obviously, we've everything stopped and all. I think all of us probably, if you think back to the time, we didn't know how severe the illness was or the disease was or whatever. So it was very worrying. Me and the Kira obviously locked ourselves into the gaff for the first few weeks or whatever, and it was just tough times. It's hard to explain it. I know everyone has their own individual outlook on it, and some people enjoyed it. They were able to switch off from life and get on with things. For us, it wasn't quite like that. We three little messers running around the house, and us two trying to manage all that and still get things done, not knowing if the world was going to end or what was going to happen. So it was stressful times for us, definitely. But I suppose we went on with it. I suppose we can always look back and say we're probably the only club to ever win a league by a fraction of a point. So we take what we can.
Yeah, and there was that moment I said to you earlier when I found out Swindon won the league. I was doing the lawn in the back garden on a hot summer's day. I mean, that's not the way you want to find out you won the league, really, is it? You want to either win it on the pitch and have the fans with you. How did you find out?
Yeah, so I walked into the house. There must have been at the shop, and Kira just says, "You've just won the league." And I was like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "It's just been announced there. He's won the league." And I was like, "Oh, deadly!" And I think I just started colouring in with the kids, maybe the colouring book or something like that. And she goes, "Do you want a can of Guinness?" I was like, "Yeah, I suppose I should probably start celebrating here." So, started celebrating in the house, the two of us, and that's how it went down. Surreal, mad times, but listen, we got over the line anyway.
Did you come down for the presentation?
Yeah, I was there I came down for the presentation. Yeah, that was the first time where they kind of half opened everything back up. That was the first day that all that happened. So yeah, we came down for the presentation. We enjoyed what we could there. Yeah.
And it kind of happened to you again the following season. I mean, this is a quiz question in time to come, isn't it? I mean, which player won 2 promotions without any crowd watching? I mean, it happened at Bolton the next year.
That's right, yeah. That's right. Very unique season at Bolton as well, in the sense of first weekend in February, we were 19th in the league. We ended up going on a mad run and finished third. Probably if we had been, we probably actually slipped up in the last 2 games, you probably would have won the league. So mad times. Like even that year, at one stage there was no crowds. I remember at Bolton, we actually tried to put fake noise through the speaker, so we actually played 90 minutes against Oldham with fake crowd noise. It's just to try and get us going really on the pitch. It didn't work. Oldham beat us that day, but it was just madness. Yeah.
I guess your biggest regret about being at Swindon was the fact that you weren't able to win it in front of the fans and celebrate it in front of the fans.
Absolutely, yeah. And especially me, in the sense of the fans took to me so well, and forever grateful. Like the song, the love they had for me, and I tried to give as much back as I possibly could as well, in the sense of just kind of anytime someone stopped me or said hello to me, I'd try to stop and talk to them in the town or whatever. It was just such a good time, I felt like I was a local lad, I suppose you could say, with the love I was getting from all the fans. So just a proper shame we weren't able to properly celebrate it. Yeah.
Yeah. Dave the Chair says Jamie Sendall's White blocked Owen's goal-bound shot, Crawley against Bradford. Owen shook Jamie's hand. Of course, former Swindon player Jamie Sendall's White. So he did us a favour. Good man.
Yeah, big time.
And you kind of touched on it. Nick says, how strange was the socially distanced trophy presentation? We had Paul Caddis on this a few weeks ago, and he was saying he didn't enjoy it purely because there weren't any fans there. He couldn't celebrate in front, like he did when he was playing for Decanio. They won the title in front of the fans, but you couldn't.
Yeah, of course it was. Yeah, look, I probably echo what he said there. Like it was just, what are we doing here? Like we have to stage, kind of spraying champagne at each other from 2 meters away from each other. It was just, it's just weird. Like, yeah, it's just a shame really that we couldn't really go for it. I remember at the time, Richie. I think Richie saying at the time it'd be great to maybe one day get a bit of a Legends game where that team could come back and play against the Canyos team at a game, and I'd love to do that because I think the fans would really turn out for that, and we could have a good celebration. It'd be a great old game, I'd imagine.
It would be fantastic. This is from Steve. So looking forward to tonight's interview. Please, perhaps you could ask Owen if he had any regrets not continuing his career at Swindon. Not many players get on a goal rush as he did with us. Jeff Stelling mentioned Owen so often on Sky, like you said, you mentioned earlier. It became the norm for him to say, who else for Swindon but Owen? I mean, right, let's knock this one on the head. You left Bolton and then went back to St Patrick's, and there was a reason for that, because I remember on that awards night saying to you about the offer that Swindon had given you, and you said you'd have to recycle the baby's nappies if you accepted Swindon's offer. I mean, obviously that plays a part, plus the fact you want to move up back towards where your family are. But now I think you wanted to go home to Ireland, didn't you?
Yeah, that was always the long-term plan, to get back over here. And as I said, we've got 3 boys, and we'd like to have them kind of grow up with around their grandparents and aunties and uncles and cousins and all that stuff, kind of like to have the similar childhood that myself and Kira had. So that was always the long-term plan, and we were able to fortunately do that in January. So we've been moved back. Kira and the kids only actually moved back at the end of the school year there, but I've been back since January. So we're resettling again into the area, and it's onwards and upwards from here, please God, in Dublin.
Yeah, well, fantastic. We wish you well, of course, for the future, and with St Patrick's, and if you can qualify for Europe, what a fantastic end to your season that would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, brilliant.
Well, Owen, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. I think it's fair to say, Chris, isn't it, that if ever people mention legendary seasons and legendary goal scorers, Owen Doyle is up there, and that season is up.
Yeah, no, of course. It's a privilege to have you on, Owen, and thank you very much to your darling wife for organising it for us. It's brilliant. Thank you.
No, thanks a million. The pleasure was mine, folks. Really was.
Well, are we going to reveal the winner?
We are.
Okay.
So the winner was Max Springer. He was the one that actually said the right words, really, in as much as, and I'm just trying to find it so I get it right. Well,
let's ask Owen to give us the answer. Right, what part did you play in that remarkable Scottish Cup semi-final? What did you do?
We came on at half-time. We were losing 3-0, came on at half-time, got one of the goals in the comeback, and we managed to go on and win 4-3 after extra time.
There you go. Max, thank you very much for paying attention.
Well done, Max, yeah.
We had lots of come on at half time, but Max actually had equalised to take it into extra time. So that was
brilliant.
So I'll try again with this to try and see. That's what you win. That's the wonderful print by Dan Designs. Thank you very much, Dan, for doing that for us. And we're going to get that over to Owen, and he'll sign it for you, and then we'll contact you and get it over to you. So thank you very much, Owen, again. Absolute pleasure. We've had some lovely comments. What I'll do is I'll collate them all and send them over to you, so you've got the full list of what everybody's saying. So that's great.
That was very kind. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. We will see you next week. It's a panel next week, so after the Newport game. So a panel on the Monday evening. So take care until then, and we will see you all soon.